Alright, guys, we finally have it. The 11 Star Wars movies ranked from worst to best. So, I'm just saying that I do like all of these, which you'll see when I give the ratings 1 out of 10. Um, Number 11, you can see on the screen, we have The Last Jedi. This scored a 6.9 out of 10. Now, I will quickly say, when it gets the rating, some of my, absolute favorite movies that I think are some of the best movies ever in the world still don't even get a 9 out of 10. That's because once you get to an 8 out of 10, that's kind of where a lot of people say 10. But for me, basically, people who give it some people, they'll have to, some movies be so good that they see 11 out of 10 or 100 out of 10. Now, obviously, that makes no sense. If 10 is the maximum, then I'm gonna say 10 for the maximum. Not for, if you have nothing wrong with you, and I think it's one of the best movies ever, I still might go in an 8, because 9 and 10, I'm saving for the best movies I've ever seen at all. And one movie might be perfectly amazing in its own right, but there's another movie that I like even more, and so it bumps it down in this place because it's not as good as the one above. No fault to the movie that's lower. It's just isn't 8 out of 10 is if you made a movie and it gets 8 out of 10 in my score, that means you made an amazing movie, at least in my opinion. It just wasn't a practically perfect movie. Anyway, okay, so yeah, Last Jedi 6.9. There's half of this movie that I think is really good. Another half that I don't think is very good. I'll say first off that this is probably the best looking Star Wars movie. Like, even the shots of Snoke's face, which is a very ugly subject matter, still look about as pretty as a shot of Snoke's face could get, Just overall, the way it's shot, the way with the lighting and everything, this is just an amazing looking film. It's just has a lot of problems. I feel like this has an amazing movie hidden somewhere inside of it. Like, it's already good, but like an amazing one. But there's several stuff that I think could be changed. Like, honestly, I don't mind the Canobite stuff as a lot of people do. A lot of people do, like the bar itself, I don't mind that much. What I do mind about it is the fact that they just happen, because I think that I hate plot conveniences. So it drives me crazy that they just happened to be put in the same cell as this guy who can get out of jail. And also, why the heck did he not just take, I can kind of excuse him waiting for them to be there until he left out, because he would need more, because him fighting against the guards, it would be a lot easier to fight against the guards if he had 2 people with him. But still, what are the chances he just happened to be thrown in the same cell as him? Holdo is annoying, and the fact that Rose ruining Finn's sacrifice is my least favorite scene. Sorry, in the saga. I gave a spoiler for what number 10 is, though. If you heard me say I hate plot conveniences, you probably already guessed that was number 10. Oh, this is rubbing something off my screen. I don't even know what it was. So yeah, but there are some scenes in this that I think are really good. So that's one of the things that I like about this. The rest of the battle crate is good. Like, the salt planet itself looks really cool. The crystal foxes, I like them. A lot of people say that they don't like the fact that Luke Skywalker's hologram wasn't actually Luke. They say they wanted to see Luke just being a cool, tough Jedi like he had been before. But I completely disagree, because I think you have to be a pretty powerful Jedi to make a hologram like that. I'm pretty sure Luke's Force trick has to be pretty powerful to do that. So I think it was honestly more impressive than if he had walked out in the battlefield and done that in person. And I also really like I also really like Kylo Ren's delivery during that speech, during that scene. I just like a lot of the way he says a lot of his lines in that scene. Um, all the stuff in Acto, this is the most divisive of all Star Wars movies. The most divisive part of it is Luke Skywalker's character. And despite being my least favorite Star Wars movie, that's more because of other stuff that does not have to do with Luke, and because I like the ones above it more. Because I think that what they did with his character here makes sense. So some people say, like, oh, that makes sense that Luke would do that. But then everyone is completely fine with the fact that Obi-Wan went and hid in the desert by himself for 20 years. Like, he's doing the same thing Obi-Wan did. This guy is traumatized. I know. The main problem is they tried to kill Kylo Ren. He did not try to kill Kylo Ren. You're listening to what Kylo Ren said, not to what Luke said. That's what Kylo Ren thought Luke was trying to kill him, but he actually wasn't. He ignited his lightsaber for 1 second, and then he said that, as soon as he ignited his lightsaber, it's like, what the heck am I doing? But, it was too late. Kylo Ren looked up and he saw him there. Kylo Ren didn't know that Luke was horrified with his actions. He didn't know that he was about to turn the lightsaber off. All Kylo Ren knew is that he sees Luke standing above his bed with his ignited lightsaber in his hand. What do you think that Kylo Ren's gonna think about that? So no, Luke did not try to kill Kylo Ren. He ignited his lightsaber in, as Luke described it, a burst of instinct for 1 second. Then it was just ended up being too late. But yeah, I also think Act 2 I find interesting. It can be a little boring, but I find it interesting. A lot of stuff with Kylo Ren. Any scenes that have Kylo Ren, Rey, or Luke in them, I usually like in this movie. The scenes with the Resistance in general, I like the space battles with the Resistance. Everything else but the Resistance, I'm not not the biggest fan of. Like, some of it's good, but that's just not the biggest fan of it. And yeah, that includes Leia's Mary Poppins maneuver. Speaking of maneuver, the Holo maneuver is cool. But one of my friends, someone was saying, they don't have to kill Leia anyway because Carrie Fisher died. They probably would have anyway, since they already killed Han and Luke, so they probably would have killed Leia also. So why not send Leia out in the most epic way possible by giving Leia the Holo maneuver? That would have been a great way to send Leia's character off. But no, they have to give it to this annoying woman that nobody likes, and then Leia dies by, laying down on a bed. Great move, Rian Johnson. My favorite scene in this movie is the throne room fight. Now, yeah, I know. Oh, if you slow the movie down to 0.25 speed, then you'll realize that this fighting is terrible and I don't care! I don't watch fight scenes at 0.25 speed when I'm watching a movie. I watch them in normal speed, like what you're supposed to do with the movie. Aside, even if the choreography is bad, I'm not an experienced fighter. I wouldn't even know that. I'm not looking for that. I don't watch a fight scene. When I'm watching fights, I don't say, oh, I love this so much. The choreography is so great. I look at the fight scene and say, whoa, that's cool. That's what I'm looking for, cool stuff when I see a fight scene. I'm not looking for good choreography. And the throne room fight scene was very much cool stuff. Oh, that's Snoke's death. I like how they did that. He did get killed off too soon, but it was I did like how Kylo Ren tricked him and stuff. That was cool. And the overall, his room was kind of weird because of how the red, I guess the walls are curved. Made it look like outside or something in a red sky. I don't know, it was kind of weird. Yeah, the fight itself, a lot of the way that they fought with the guards, threw one of them into the shredder. Probably my favorite moment in the entire film is when Rey throws lightsaber to him, and then he just turns it on to stab the guy in the. This one I like how that fight finally utilized probably the first fight I've seen that actually utilized the fact that lightsaber blades can turn on and off. Because first, when Rey was stuck in a blade cross with the one Praetorian guard, she turned the lightsaber off and turned it back on again, and then she chucked the light at Ben, and he caught it and turned it on for a minute. Talk about that, I want to put this movie higher, but it's already got a 6.9 out of 10, and the rest of the movie isn't good enough to bring it up higher. Speaking of a movie that I want to put higher, but some scenes just won't let me, we have number 10, The Rise of Palpatine. This one used to be my number 6, and I hate putting it in number 10, because I think it's underrated. It scores a 7.1 for me, and this has what I think are some amazing scenes. It has probably some of my favorite moments in the entire saga. But look at it, I hate plot conveniences. And this movie is The Rise of Plot Conveniences. Those are my 2 titles for it. I refuse to call it The Rise of Skywalker. It is either The Rise of Palpatine, because Rey is not a Skywalker. That's nothing I don't like about this movie. Is that to end it on that, because the endings are the most important things in anything. Movies included. What are you gonna feel happier after? If you watch a movie where the whole time it's just a bunch of cute bunnies eating cake, then at the end they get all blown up, or a movie where the whole time there's a bunch of death and destruction, but then at the end the characters defeat the bad guys and they all get happily married and life is perfect. Which is a happier movie? I would say the second one. So I would prefer a movie to get have the worst parts at the beginning. But no, Rise of Palpatine has one of the worst parts at the very end. Okay, let's listen to the plot conveniences. I probably will miss some. It's kind of hard not to miss some. But I will say parts that people don't like. I do not mind Hux being the spy. It was surprising and it makes sense. I could see his relationship with Kylo Ren through the whole trilogy makes it seem like he would turn on him for no other reason, just wanting him to lose. But aside from that, okay, so they just happen to stumble on a party that happens every 40 years or something. And also, who the heck has a party every 40 years? But aside from that, even if they had some weird traditional reason to do that, because I don't know what anyone would ever have one every 40 years, then you would have one twice in your lifetime. But they just happen to stumble on it, and Lando just happens to be there when they do. They just happen to fall in this hole. It just happens to have the dagger they need. They just happen to find the dagger, and the dagger just happens to line up perfectly with the Death Star that was made thousands of years after the dagger was created. What the heck? And plus, this dagger has done terrible things while she's holding a lightsaber that's literally murdered younglings. Now the Palpatine coming back, stupid, yes. I'll talk about why I don't mind it too much by it being stupid and kind of undermine it in Return of the Jedi. It doesn't undermine it too much to me, because the thing is, Anakin's main motivation in that was to save his son, not to save the galaxy, and he did save his son. Yeah, Luke died eventually, but everyone will die eventually. He did create peace for 30 years, and put him in a weakened state. I'm sure if Palpatine was still in his full normal state, Rey would not have been able to defeat him, no matter how much Jedi Ghost help she got. But one thing I want to say is that that's a plot twist, you know? Palpatine coming back is a plot twist. What is probably the worst possible way to announce a plot twist? In the opening title crawl, imagine people watching Empire Strikes Back and they saw Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Luke Skywalker just found out that Darth Vader was his father. Then I know one thing, that would not be regarded as one of the best twists in history at all. And I know Palpatine being probably very important to the story, but they could have at least, even if it was the first scene, they could have had Kylo Ren like finding out and to be a surprise, you know? Do not announce your plot twists in the opening crawl of the movie. And yeah, like after hearing me say all that, you might think, how the heck did you give the movie a 7 out of 10 and hate it so much? Well, that's why he's in 10th place. Because there are parts that I love. Again, Palpatine coming back might have been a stupid choice, but he is really cool in this movie, especially when he, like, Force Lightnings, I'll just say that made him too overpowered. I don't care. I thought that moment was really cool when he's like, nothing will stop the return of the Sith. He didn't say return of the Sith, he said, nothing will stop the return of the Sith. And Force Lightnings down all the ships. That part was cool. Not an explanation, but it was cool getting to hear him again say, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities, some consider to be unnatural. 10 out of 10 Palpatine impersonation. Anyway, and the plot twist that Rey was his granddaughter, I actually don't see that much of a problem with it. Like, other than the fact that who the heck would want to have a kid with Palpatine, but then we find out later with a clone in a book, so that does not help the movie at all. But, whatever. It's still a surprising twist. It's not as stupid as I think a lot of people say it is. I thought it was surprising. I thought it was cool. There was the lightsaber fight on the Death Star. I think was actually a really good fight because it was very different. Like, when before have you seen someone swing a lightsaber at somebody else and then they use the Force to block it? And also the fight with Kijimi was switching between the bedroom and the Kijimi. Bedroom, I don't know, bedroom, but whatever. You know, the fight where they were using their weird force-sided stuff, the visuals on that were really cool. Light speed skipping. I don't know what the problem with it is. Like, do you know what light speed skipping is? It's just entering light speed quickly and then entering quickly and exiting. Like, I guess maybe the problem is that it doesn't take that long. It takes a while to speed the hyperspace up. It takes a while to cool it down first. I don't know if it works or not. All I know is that the places they visited sure looked cool as heck. Addition to the like red place surrounding Exo looked cool, but okay, so they go through this cool looking like red cones that look pretty cool. Then we get to these like mirror things that look really cool, and then oh my gosh, what the heck is that? It is this green nebula place with this humongous creature in it. It's really mysterious. It makes you wonder, where is that place? What the heck is it? It's just really mysterious and kind of cool. There's a lot of cool lightsaber fights. I enjoy getting to see history with Luke and Leia with Luke and Leia fighting and stuff. The ending battle, Luke and Kylo Ren's redemption was amazing. And I really like the moment where there are more of us Poe moments. I don't know, there's something about that moment I just think is really cool when it looks like. And usually I don't find like Calvary moments can be kind of cool, like right through here, that's a pretty cool moment. But I don't usually find them as impactful as a lot of people do. But the way they did this, I find was really cool. How there's all these normal people that a lot of people they just been pretty impressed by the First Order and stuff. Looks like Resistance is about to lose, but then nope, here come all these normal ships. And with the Star Wars thing going on, and then we see Lando finally back in the Falcon. It was just a really cool moment. So there's a lot of great moments in this one, and I feel like I want to put it higher. But there's just too many moments that are so stupid that I can't. Oh, one more thing that I want to say about this, though, is that I think we finally got some of the best use of C-3PO actually had a purpose in this. I'm not saying he was a bad character otherwise, and don't like his character. Like, the purpose in the story, like, in the movie to be funny, but, like, a purpose to the actual rebel. He'd never been as important as he was in this. This is the best movie for his character. He finally got to be heroic and give a sacrifice for the cause. We finally got to hear him saying that he liked R2-D2, because, after A New Hope, he's like, no, I don't like it either. So, I like getting to hear him finally admit that him and R2-D2 were actually good friends, and he does care about him. And of course, Babu Freak. Number 9 with also a 7.1, we have Solo. Um, this one, I feel like this one actually is also very divisive. Just not quite as much as The Last Jedi, but still is very divisive. Some people put it very high, some put it very low. People don't think about it as being as divisive just because people don't care as much as we put this one. It's almost as divisive as The Last Jedi. With a lot of people, most people putting it lower, but some people putting it higher. Except not thought of as divisive, just because the people who don't like Solo don't hate it as passionately as people who don't like The Last Jedi. The people who like Solo don't love it as passionately as people who love The Last Jedi. So it's not thought of as divisive. This still is rather divisive. Some people put it in like top 3, top 5. Put it in like number 11, number 10, number 9. Maybe it's a number 9. Really, the only major problem I have with other than this Han Solo's name getting Han Solo, that part's stupid, but really the main problem I have with this is the fact that Kira just happened to be on that ship. That part is so stupid that Kira just happened to be on that ship, and that everything important in Han's history happens in like 3 months at most. But anyway, it's a fun movie. The train heist is cool. We've got the castle run. I thought that was really cool, especially the big monster. We got to see Darth Maul even for a little bit. To see him when he first met Chewbacca. We got to see Haymitch, but as a Star Wars criminal. There was a lot of cool stuff in this movie. And L3, a lot of people find her annoying. I don't find L3 annoying. I thought she was a good character, and I would like the scene where she rallies all the droids. It was cool to see all those oppressed droids getting to stand up and fight against the people who are forcing them to mine. I don't have much to say about Solo as I do a lot of the other ones. I just think it's good. It's only a little better than Rise of Skywalker. It doesn't have much problems with Rise of Skywalker. Doesn't have much things I like about it. Still look at 7.1, but like Solo a little bit more. At number 8 with a 7.2, we have The Force Awakens. Now, I will say real quickly, that's, I wanted to mention about the 8, 9, and 10 being reserved for, like, best ever stuff. The Force Awakens, I honestly don't find it as much for a remake as A New Hope as a lot of people do. Similarities, sure. But there is a lot of stuff around it that's different. Problems. Okay. The fact that Leia went to hug stinking Rey instead of Chewie. Okay, so let's think about this. She's known Chewie for like 30 years. He's known Han, so like 35 years. She's known Han for like 45 years. Leia doesn't even know her, and she's known Han for about a few days. Who does she know better to make more sense for? Who would make more sense for her to hug anyway? Because she knows better, and needs more a hug because he'd be more distressed. Definitely Rey, right? No. Give Chewbacca the stinking hug, Leia. Thankfully, I'm not quite as upset about it, and I upset with this one as I am with some other problems, because at least J.J. Abrams admitted that it was stupid. So I will commend him for that he admitted that was a dumb thing to do. So I'm not as mad about it, though it doesn't help the fact that it happened in the movie. I'm just not mad at him for doing it. I'm not really that mad at him for anything else he did, but, I'm not gonna think, JJ, what's wrong with you? Congratulations for admitting your mistakes. And there was a lot of things in the movie he did right. Finn, I felt his character really cool. Getting to see a stormtrooper abandoning the Empire, seeing stormtroopers get humanized, I thought that was cool, because I thought before about how it was a good victory for the rebels. Kind of the Death Star getting exploded actually was kind of sad, because how many of those stormtroopers were just innocent people who thought that they were the good guys and had families and friends and a bunch of stuff and were nice people, and then millions of them got killed. So it was cool. I'm not getting to see this stormtroopers get humanized and getting to see one getting redeemed. And yeah, this is gonna be a very long video. So, why did I just freeze up? Notice there was also the plot twist of Han Solo being Kylo Ren's dad. A little reverse twist in the Empire twist the instead of this trilogy's Darth Vader being the dad, this version of Darth Vader is the son. Um, and also Kylo Ren's character. I think Kylo Ren's a good character, especially in Rise of Skywalker, or Rise of Palpatine. I mean, sorry, I said I would refuse to call it that. And there was a lot of good action in this. I think one scene, the fight scene that I think is really good, no one ever talks about, is the fight at Maz's castle. That action in that was great. Another problem I have is that no, they already gotten full by them, but it still was kind of lucky that those big tentacle octopus squid horror creatures I thought were pretty cool. And that scene, I like that scene, that ate all the pirates. They kept eating them as soon as they could, and then they get to Finn, and they're like, "Let's save you for later." And I say a whole lot, so sorry for that. The lightsaber fight at the end was cool. There was a lot of funny moments in this, like, the infamous thumbs up with the fire. So this is just a cool movie. Okay. At number 7, with a 7.5, Rogue One. A lot of people have this higher. Used to have it lower, but with a mix of getting more appreciation for Rogue One itself and getting less appreciation for Force Awakens and Rise of Palpatine, this one is now on number 7. So, the second half of this movie is a lot better than the first, but the first half actually isn't bad at all. There's a lot of good emotional moments in it. It's really well done, and there was good action in it. It's also going to be weird watching this again after watching Andor, because now you'll see Cassian in like a whole new light, because you actually see him you know a lot more about Cassian, so I need to someday I want to rewatch Rogue One, but so you see how different it is after having seen Andor. I don't have much to talk about the first 2 acts. They're pretty good. There's good action, good emotional moments. I like them. They do drag down the movie as a whole, but not because they're bad, just because the third act is better. And the third act, what a third act. The Battle of Scarif is great. Probably one of the best ground battles, the best ground battle in Star Wars. The space battle rivals the one in Return of the Jedi. I'm not sure which one is better. I'm not actually say the one in Rogue One. The stuff with the main characters, I felt like I feel like if you're gonna kill all your main characters, you have to do it right. And Rogue One did it right. Like, I feel like Bodhi's death is a little cheap. Like, he could have went out of the ship. But, like, the stormtroopers always do that, or battle droids. As soon as they see a bomb, they just stand there. So it's only fair to be able to lose a good guy by having him just stand there and watch the bomb also. It's only fair that the good guys die like that also. And being a major character makes up with the fact that there's only one good guy and several of the bad guys. I had a hard time, like, I already knew when I watched all the main characters were gonna die, so I had a hard time kind of getting connected with, oh woo, let's go, Cassian is still alive, because like I knew he was gonna die eventually anyways. It was just delaying it a little bit, though. Yeah, I do think they're definitely good. K2 death was good, and of course I can't talk about Rogue One without talking about the Vader scene. I think my favorite shot in the whole movie is the one where they're just closing the door, and then we see the lights turn on in the background, because it looks like A New Hope, but 10 times better. Looks like A New Hope, where we actually get to see Darth Vader killing them. It looks like the pictures I see in comics of how showing how Darth Vader is. That one scene and that shot for me even more than the rest of it just really shows just how dangerous Darth Vader is. We always see him as dangerous even against fellow Jedi, but now we see Darth Vader against people who have no Force power whatsoever, and it's terrifying and awesome and amazing at the exact same time, just like Darth Vader himself. So, like, with that, it almost seems weird to put Rogue One at number 7. Well, guess what? That's just how good Star Wars is. Now, number 6 is 7.7. We have The Phantom Menace. And, yeah, so you can tell from this, I'm definitely like the prequels. The top 6 are actually all just the prequels and the originals. Honestly, I'm not even sure which one I like more, the prequels or the originals. I honestly might like the prequels more than the originals. But anyway, The Phantom Menace. People say that has no action. It has action from the very beginning. There's the fight against the droids and the droidicas. I think that was really cool. But yeah, and then we get down. The creatures are like the CGI. And this was very improved in the original trilogy. Something I very noticed when the first time I watched it. The pod racing sequence. We all know how good that part is. There's just a lot of good action. Like the whole thing, the look overall, I think is great. The Duel of Fates battle scene, is great. Not great as what people say it is. I think it is a little bit overrated, but it's still amazing. The Duel of Fates song itself is amazing. It's sad even having to watching Anakin being such a sweet little kid, knowing what he'll turn into eventually. But it also helps reconcile the ending of Return of the Jedi, because I kind of think, like, you seem kind of evil to be turning this fast, especially seeing Obi-Wan and seeing him you get to see part of the good side that never 100% left, maybe 99.9% left, but not 100%. Sorry, I just realized that I'm talking way too fast again. I need to work on that. And something people never talk about is that this movie actually has a very big plot twist in it. Nobody ever talks about the crazy plot twist that's in The Phantom Menace. You guess what it is? Anakin built C-3PO. No one was expecting that. It's a crazy plot twist. Nobody ever talks about it. No one ever says, "Oh, I think I like The Phantom Menace because of that wasn't that surprising." Let's talk about Star Wars plot twists. One of the Star Wars plot twists I think was really surprising was Anakin built C-3PO. No one ever talks about that. I think that plot twist was crazy. And Darth Maul was really cool. Clone Wars was made him an amazing character, but even before he was a good character, he was just a cool looking character. So now we get to the top 5. These 5 movies are absolutely amazing. Number 5. This one might be a little controversial. Might be people say this is too low, even though it's a number 5. Cool, guess what it is? Empire Strikes Back. Scores an 8 out of 10. But again, the only reason Empire scores an 8 out of 10 is because I reserved the 9s and 10s for absolutely amazing stuff. And just a little hint, even my number 2 is only an 8.9 out of 10. So it's very hard to get a 9. 8 is very good. Empire Strikes Back is an amazing movie. The stuff, the only parts that I find a little boring maybe are parts in Dagobah. Even then maybe would be boring, but the setting is so great. Dagobah itself looks really cool. Yoda's house is great. The little brief imaginary fight scene with Vader in the cave, and then seeing his own face in the helmet. Yeah, again, Yoda lifting the X-Wing. People said that moment's great. The stuff in the Hoth, pretty cool. Probably my least favorite setting in the setting looks cool, but least favorite of the different sections in the movie. But it's still a good section. I just like the rest of the sections more. The Wampa was cool. I like the Tauntauns. It's pretty gross when the Tauntaun guts were really gross, but other than that, it was was cool. When he looks up and sees the ants through the binoculars, it's like, oh shoot, I love that part. The Luke versus Vader fight scene. I'd also get kind of curious about like what that thing that they're Luke goes into a little room on the edge of the railing, right? Like, when Luke goes out of the main part onto a railing, gets in a room, exits out of the room, and then we get the plot twist. That little room he's in, like, I wonder what it's for. But I can't talk about Empire without talking about. No, I am your father. It's amazing. It's just one of the most surprising and well done plot twists that has ever been a plot twist. Okay. I'm trying to think. There was something I was thinking of a plot twist that was even more like a very distressing like plot twist, kind of like this. That's what people never talked about. What was it? Maybe it was dreaming and it was a movie that wasn't even real. I don't even know. Anyway, number 4 with an 8.4, A New Hope. The feel of this movie is great. Every time we get just a shot of Tatooine, it feels so good. It looks so cool. Like, this is only I have something you call nostalgia to. Even though I've only been watching the Star Wars movies for like a little over a year, the main reason has kind of nostalgia attached to this one in particular is because I always heard about it. When I watched it, was so cool to finally get to realize like I am finally, because I wanted to watch Star Wars my whole life, and when I finally did at 12, I'm like, I'm finally watching Star Wars. To see all the stuff I had heard about in this movie with the Death Star and all the characters and the Garbage Masher, which I feel is like really one of my favorite scenes of the Garbage Masher. My favorite scene, let's first talk about some other favorite scenes. The trench run is great. The music, was great. So talk about the Imperial March somehow. I forgot to talk about this. I don't know how. The Imperial March is great. Nothing I like about Empire. So my only problem with this one is the only Star Wars movie without the Imperial March in it. Was Imperial March in The Last Jedi? Probably wasn't, because it's my least favorite. That would make sense. Either way though, this Vader in this was really cool. It had one of the best opening scenes in the whole saga. It has great like humor. My favorite scene is probably Han's boring conversation where he gives the awkward dialogue of the yeah, we're all fine here now, thank you, how are you? Who's this? What's your operating number? Says blast the panel. Boring conversation anyway. Luke, we're gonna have company. Like I think that scene's really fun. It's probably my favorite scene of the whole movie, honestly. This one doesn't really have that many great standout scenes, but it manages the number 4 spot by just being good overall. Nothing much stands out as an amazing scene, but it's just nothing that's boring. It's overall just a really good scene, and I don't like the ending. The music in the ending is great, and it's also good seeing like happy ending with seeing R2-D2 shined up and stuff. This was just a good, fun movie, and sets up everything for the rest of the movies. Now, number 3, this is probably my hottest take of all my opinions. Number 3 is Attack of the Clones. Okay, now remember, this is not an objective ranking. I do not think that Attack of the Clones is a better movie than The Empire Strikes Back, because it just isn't. I'm just saying that I like it more. This scores an 8.4 out of 10 for me. I think I like about Attack of the Clones is some people say it's boring. How? There's a lot of action in it. We got the explosion at the beginning. We got the chase against the shapeshifter. The last 40 minutes are like pure action. We got the fight against Jango Fett and Kamino. Kamino's a very mysterious atmosphere. I never liked it, and the fight was cool. The droid factory. What I like about the droid factory is I've always liked scenes, like when I was younger, my favorite scenes in shows and books or any stories was just simple, not exactly fight danger, but sometimes fight danger and simple, just avoid danger. Like the Droid Factory, I love how I like video game danger kind of in stories, and that part was great. We have the stuff swinging down on them, they have to avoid it. It's fun. The battle of Geonosis is great. Geonosis is great. The fight against Dooku, like between Anakin and Obi-Wan, one of my least favorite lightsaber fights. It wasn't much, but the one with Yoda I think was really good though. And the romance, people say is really cringy. I don't think it's that cringy, honestly. Probably because Anakin's lines, what's not relatable about them is saying them out loud to a girl. What is relatable about what I know exactly everything he's describing, especially in the infamously cringy fireplace scene. Everything he's saying is just so relatable to me that I don't find it that cringy. Again, as people said before, it makes sense. He would have no idea how to flirt as he's been taught his whole life to ignore feelings for girls. And also another scene people call him white. People say he's whiny. I think the whole scene with his mom dying in Tusken Raider massacre was really well done. People say his acting was bad, like he was whiny in the "I killed them all, every single one of them" scene. I feel like that was really powerfully done because you can see right before him looking at his hands, shaking his head, and he did a really good job of portraying just how horrified he looked at what he had just done. And I feel like that scene was really well done with the acting, because you could really see how horrified Anakin was at what he just done. And everyone said that Hayden Christensen's acting is bad, because they pointed to that scene, because his acting in that was amazing. You could really tell, he would look really horrified at what he had just done. And, even if the romance can be a little cringy sometimes, it is more than made up for. My favorite thing about the movie, one of my favorite things in all Star Wars, my favorite song in Star Wars, Across the Stars, probably my favorite song ever, the most beautiful song I've ever heard, probably. It's just amazing. I love the melody so much, and it's a really pretty song. It makes more than makes it for any faults with the romance. But coming in at number 2 with an 8.9 is Return of the Jedi. Now, okay, let's run through the parts real quickly. Okay, I'll call them back. Let's run through the parts real quickly. At the Jabba's sail barge, it's pretty fun. The Endor part, pretty fun also. I like the battle. I like the Ewoks, actually. I don't mind them. I don't think they're like super childlike or anything. They're kind of cute. The speeder chase in the Endor, that was really cool. I love the setting with all the forest. Speeder chase again, I love that scene. The action, the Jabba's palace aesthetic was really cool, and so was all like action with it. Luke versus Vader fight scene, everything with Luke and Vader is amazing. Palpatine was amazing. Anakin's redemption, my favorite part of any movie ever. Especially after watching Revenge of the Sith, and you just see just how tragic the tale of his turn is. And so it's really happy seeing him turn back to the light side. His death was really bittersweet with him talking to Luke, and like, I gotta save you, Father, you already have, Luke. One of the many lines in that part. And I love the slow piano, like, sad remix of the Imperial March. And we see him finally at the end, back to his old form, with Obi-Wan right there. Like, I wish we gotten to see the reunion between him and Obi-Wan. Maybe we couldn't, like, some future show or something, because after seeing the fight in Revenge of the Sith, and the fight in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you see just how sad Obi-Wan, like, how sad Obi-Wan is because of what happened with him. I really hope we get to somehow get to see them reuniting. That would be a really sweet moment. The ending is one of my favorite moments in any movies ever. Just the movie overall, is really good, but not quite good enough to get number 1 spot. It has one of the best scenes. My number 1 is more, I like it more, I think it's more absolutely amazing consistently. And that is Revenge of the Sith. This scores a 9.7. So if we were, this would be one of the two movies that I would give a 10 out of 10. The other one is Return of the King. I could talk for probably even longer than the movie itself about why I love this. I will say this probably has the cringiest moment with the romance, which is the infamous "Love Is Blind" Did you scene. That part is so cringy. But other than that, the movie more than makes up for that scene with the amazing action at the beginning, the 5 lightsaber battles that I think are also my favorite. Look at the Mace Windu versus Palpatine isn't that great, but the beginning is. But after they actually get into the fight, I actually really like it. And we get like it's not like great with people who don't know about it. If you watch this in chronological order and don't know who Anakin is, I'm sure you'll still know who Vader is. So then you'll get an amazing plot twist of Anakin being Vader. Because of course you know who Vader is. If you don't know who Anakin is, and you know who Vader is, then you're not gonna know who the Anakin turns into Vader if you're watching it in chronological order. So then you'll get a huge surprise when you find out that Anakin is Darth Vader. And yeah, so many good lightsaber battles. The one at the end, like the Anakin for Obi-Wan fight, the best fight I've ever seen. The Obi-Wan speech is really like emotional and sad. A scene no one ever talks about is when Anakin finds out he's pregnant. Says the happiest moment of his life. I feel like that's a really sweet scene. Aside from the fact that Across the Stars playing in the background already makes it automatically much happier because this is a really beautiful song. But like it's just getting to see this guy who will pretty soon his life will get ruined. He'll spend the next 20 years in misery. I like seeing just before that happens him getting to get a short, even if it's brief, a little bit of his happiest part of his life before he plunges into the extreme sadness for 20 years. And it's also really cool and symbolic that this little it's also sweet that this reminds you of his humanity, that this guy who kills children later, it's more just because he turned over to the dark side, because his half moment of his life is because he find out he's gonna have his own child. And then also, 20 years later, that same child ends up saving his life and turning him back to the light side. So it's just an amazing moment. There's so many cool action scenes in Revenge of the Sith, and it's an emotional masterpiece. Order 66, really sad, especially if you've seen the Clone Wars. I would talk about it longer, but my friends called and stuff. And I'm getting bored talking about it. This has been a very long video. Anyway, write your opinions in the comment. If there are comments, you can probably turn them off. And yeah.